How many of you have heard about the health benefits of cold tubs? Right? Oh, they're supposed to be great for you, for all your joints and pains and all that other kind of stuff. Well, back in the day, we thought they were great for people who had dementia and behavioral issues. We said, hey, let's get a huge tub of ice, take someone who is combative and angry, and let's dunk them in it. And that was hydrotherapy. And we've come such a long way, now we do it voluntarily. Right? Let's all try that. Insulin shock therapy. They were given high doses of insulin to basically put them into an insulin coma for several days, and the idea was is when they would come out of this insulin coma, they would be better. Wonder who came up with that. The metrazole shock therapy. Again, I think we've all heard of this before. It's trying to lower their thresholds by using shock therapy. Again, my wife and I actually just got off a plane and we saw the most recent Ghostbusters, but if you remember back to the original Ghostbusters, yes, Mike, I'm old enough to remember the original Ghostbusters, they were testing shock therapy, right? He's holding up cards. What does this card say? Nope, that's wrong, shock therapy. So again, we used to try to use that on these folks that had dementia or some sort of behavior. And then the first really positive, and I say that with hesitation, was the first drug for this came out in the early 1950s, and that was Thorazine, so that's chlorpromazine, which we still actually use today for a wide variety of things, including behavioral issues, things like that. So that's really when they finally came up with something that actually had some proof of concept and some proof that it works. So after we were done dunking people in cold tanks, shocking them, giving them too much insulin, we said, hey, maybe we should try to find a medication that may actually help them. And Thorazine was the first one that we saw used. So what are the causes? Well, I think we're all hopefully aware of this, is that sometimes the combative behavior is not really related to the dementia at all. It's related to something else. Whether that's pain, whether that's side effects from other medications, they may have an infection, particularly a UTI, things like that, trauma, if they have underlying depression. So there could be some other things that we see that are causing some of the issues. The example I like to use is the pain example. If you have someone that has dementia and maybe is not communicating as well as they were, and they need help with daily living, maybe they need help getting dressed in the morning, and let's just say that their shoulder hurts, right? When you try to lift their arms up to put a shirt on them because they need to have a clean shirt for today, they're gonna hit you because that hurts and they don't have any way to tell you, right? So we may go and look and say, okay, well, look at the combative behavior, they're resisting care and things like that, and really what they're trying to do is tell us, don't do that, that hurts, I don't like that. So again, we have to look at those underlying causes and make sure those are treated. Also think about our folks that have poor vision or poor hearing and how we approach them. I know Teepa Snow talks about this all the time, making sure that when you're approaching someone for care that you're coming from them from the front so that they can see you and you're communicating with them. This is what I'm going to do, this is how we're going to, this is why we need to do this, hey, we need to get you ready to go down for breakfast or whatever. A lot of times we'll come up from behind someone or from the side, and if they have poor vision, poor hearing, the first thing that you've done is startle them. And I don't know about any of you, but when you're startled, the first thing you're not thinking is friendly thoughts, right? So they may be combative just because of some of those other things. So again, make sure that you're looking, and this is where, talking to your consultant pharmacist, talking to your pharmacy, look for those medications potentially that can cause some delirium. Be thinking about infections and things like that. I can tell you from personal experience with my own mom, when she was sick, they tried to put her on Seroquel. She was in the hospital, they tried to put her on Seroquel. I'm like, my mom's never been crazy a day in her life, right? She's the nicest, sweetest person you've ever met. And they couldn't figure it out. I'm like, well, did we test to see if she has a UTI or some other type of infection? Oh, miraculous, right? That's what was wrong. As soon as they started, within a day of them starting the antibiotic treatments, she was back to her normal self again and never had those issues again. So again, we have a tendency to bypass some of those underlying things and go right straight to, hey, we need to be, let's get some Seroquel on board for this person, or let's do this for this person, let's get some olanzapine on board, and that's not necessarily why. And then also look for changes, right? We have a tendency to bypass when someone especially moves from one community to another, a home to an assisted living to a skilled, wherever that transition may be. We have a tendency to overlook the fact that something is now different, all right? You all are, at least most of you are probably staying here at the hotel, right? Right? Thank you, nods that some of you are awake. I appreciate that, 30% of you, all right? How many of you sleep better in the hotel than you do when you are at home? All right? Couple people in the back. When we get to the meds, make sure you're paying attention, okay? All right? So we don't, right? It's a new environment. There's drummers next door, just making up examples that may interrupt and may have an issue with. But if something is different, and we need to make sure that we're looking at those sleep-wake disturbances. I can't tell you how many times, and Michael and I have both experienced this, we've gone in, oh, this patient is up all night. And you know, it may be lunchtime-ish, and you look, and they're sitting in the wheelchair, sound asleep, right? Well, of course they're up all night. They slept all day long, right? So again, are we getting the background necessary to make sure we're ruling out other things? And once we've done that, then it's okay for us to move on to the next thing. So here's our first self-assessment question. Which one of the following is not an underlying cause? And that would be D, constipation. All right? Anything else can be pain, infection, trauma, but not usually constipation. Some of you may argue with that. You know, constipation doesn't make me real happy, but at the same time, that's not an underlying cause. So Mike, with that, I'll pass over to you to talk about some of the